The transatlantic accent isn't real, and it can't hurt you. My name is Marley Watson. I'm an audiobook narrator, and this is part 2 of my series on the transatlantic accent. I learned it for an 11-hour historical fiction audiobook, and I have some tips if you want to learn it too, without sounding like you're speaking the Queen's English. This is a disclaimer that I am not a dialect coach, but I have taught myself to read the International Phonetic Alphabet, and I love hanging out on Wikipedia. Now, the transatlantic accent is not a regional accent, which means, broadly speaking, nobody grew up speaking it. It was a trained way of speaking that was created for old Hollywood and stage acting because it sounded classy, not really from anywhere, and it was meant to be easily understood by Americans and Brits alike. The problem a lot of people in my comments on my last video were saying they run into when they are trying to learn the transatlantic accent is that it can easily slide into a full-on posh British accent, also known as received pronunciation, RP, the BBC voice, or the Queen's English. So there are 5 things that I did during that 11-hour audiobook to keep the accent mid-Atlantic and not accidentally Downton Abbey. Number 1, do not overcommit to the trap-both split. General American accents like mine use the trap vowel, ah, for both words, trap and bath. But the RP accent features a split between the word trap and the word both, where both shifts toward a broad ah sound. There's a list of words that are affected by the trap-both split, and unfortunately you do just kind of have to memorize them if you want to do an accurate RP accent. I'm so sorry. The transatlantic accent does follow the trap-both split, but if you do it everywhere and too strongly, it'll sound more purely RP than transatlantic. I noticed while watching Katharine Hepburn's interviews and movie clips that she often switches between the two, both and bath, depending on her mood or the context of the scene. So if you find yourself sounding too British, one thing you can do is use the trap vowel instead of the both vowel, and I will play you an example.
There are certain things about that other girl that I rather like.
The fact is you can't be a...
Rather and can't are both both vowels, but she says rather and can't. Tip number 2, pronounce the hell out of your vowels. In many North American accents, including mine, the words caught and caught are pronounced the same way. That is called the caught-caught merger or the lot-thought merger. But remember that one of the goals of the transatlantic accent was intelligibility, so you should maintain a distinction between the two of them. So, for example, I caught the cot in the hall becomes I caught the cot in the hall.
You're so much thought and so little feeling.
The words caught and caught are distinct from each other in an RP accent too, but the distinction is slightly different to my ear. To me, it sounds like you are inserting a schwa, and it also sounds like you are inserting a schwa when you see the letter R after a vowel at the end of a word. Which brings me to tip number 3. Transatlantic is non-rhotic, but don't forget the schwa. So rhoticity is when you pronounce the R after vowels in words like door. RP is typically non-rhotic. So door becomes door. You drop the R and you elongate the O. So door, not do. Transatlantic is also typically non-rhotic. So dropping the R at the ends of words is good, but there's a slight difference. To my ear, you treat it the same way you treat two vowels side by side, which means you pronounce the hell out of it. Meaning in a word like door, you drop the R and you put in a schwa. So instead of door or door, it's door. Same thing with the word here.
Get the heck out of here. Get the heck out of here.
Instead of here, it's here.
Here.
Here's a practice sentence. Close the door before 4. Close the door before 4. Tip number 4. Watch out for happy tensing. When the final vowel in words like happy, city, or pretty sounds like E, as in my accent, that's called happy tensing. In the transatlantic accent, you use a more neutral I sound for the ends of those words.
Aren't the geraniums pretty?
Pre-1960, RP speakers also used that more neutral I sound, but modern RP speakers don't. So stay neutral to stay transatlantic. Here is a practice sentence for you. Happy Charlie sips coffee in the pretty city. And tip number 5. This one's a little complicated, so pay close attention. Allow linking R, but avoid intrusive R. So in non-rhotic accents where you drop the R at the ends of words, the R can still appear when the next word starts with a vowel. For example, the phrase idea of becomes idea of, which is why sometimes you'll hear people who speak English as a second language say idea, like that's a bad idea. I've heard my German host parents say that, probably because they were learning British English in school and they're misapplying this rule. So that is intrusive R, and it appears in received pronunciation, but not transatlantic. Linking R, on the other hand, appears when the word has an R in its spelling and you connect it into the next vowel. So for example, far away becomes far away, far away. Here it is would be here it is, here it is. So to keep it straight, remember to only turn on the linking R when you can point to an actual written R in the word you are linking from. A practice sentence for you is, your idea of it is elegant. Your idea of it is elegant. This is video editor Marley, and oh my god, I have spent 8 hours scripting and editing this video. So if you made it to the end of this, please enjoy a short reading of some Fiona Apple lyrics in a transatlantic accent as a reward. I was staring at the sky, just looking for a star to pray on or wish on or something like that. I was having a sweet fix of a daydream of a boy, whose reality, I knew, was a hopeless to be had. But then the dove of hope began its downward slope, and I believed for a moment that my chances were approaching to be grabbed. But as it came down near, so did a weary tear. I thought it was a bird, but it was just a paper bag.